Sunday. I'm oddly excited to be working on the weekend. In fact, last year I worked just one Sunday in the whole tax year. Can you believe it? Let's see how we get on here. Sadly, it's a lot of driving and not a lot of work, added to the fact that my cab is driving a little bit iffy. Heading along Piccadilly and towards the Magic Circle, I pick up this job here at the Dilly Hotel. Now, they wish to go to Victoria Station. But we're going to go over to Map Tom, who's going to orate the route to us. Take it away, Map Tom.
Yes, Tom, thank you very much. We are live here at the Map for the first route of this fine Sunday shift. We've got to get from the Dilly to Victoria Station, but you've got to remember, as it's a Sunday, the Mall is shut. Now, we're already pointing eastbound on Piccadilly. How are we going to run it? Well, we're going to go through Piccadilly Circus and down the Haymarket. We're going to get a left into Pall Mall East and go around Trafalgar Square. Left into that tiny little bit of Cockspur Street before you comply by King Charles I Island. That was the king, of course, that lost his head back in 1649. Leave that by Whitehall, forward yourself into Parliament Street to get yourself down to Parliament Square. Now we're going to leave Parliament Square by Broad Sanctuary. That's the road that goes past the Royal Peculiar that is Westminster Abbey before working our way into Victoria Street. All the way along Victoria Street, get a left into Vauxhall Bridge Road before we get a right into Neat House Place. Don't do this if you're on the Knowledge or if you're in a normal car. This is taxis only before we get the right into the Wilton Road, stopping just opposite the taxi rank. Back to you, mate.
Cheers, man. Now, when I had these passengers on, I noticed that when I was at traffic lights and I could see in the reflection of the window, my wheels actually jigging back a little bit, as though, I don't know, there was some sort of weird movement. Time to inspect it. Now, I'm not a mechanic, but that doesn't look good. So I decided to abandon today, even though I was so eager to work Sunday.
So it seems to be a very big coincidence that I've got play in both of the suspension area, arms, whatever, after those bushes have been changed. So I'm going to take it back to the garage that did it. I'm thinking it's either because they're brand new bushes, they could have developed play once they've been fitted, and then you then have to have that adjusted, or they just could be crap bushes. Who knows? So the joys of cab ownership.
This is so difficult because I've come all the way into town, I've paid my petrol, but I've only done just one job. Just turn around and go home. Should have just stayed at home. Oh well, let's see if we can get this sorted.
That potentially broken bush in the front wishbone there has cost the shift. So it's just one job down and it's home we go.
Fixed. So is my bushes. The bushes have failed. So the other ones were replaced a month ago for the MOT. I'd been away for a week in between. I went to America for a conference, and I've probably, actual working terms, I've probably only used the cab for about 2 weeks. They've gone already. So we're back to be able to get back to work. It's a Monday. I'm in Grays in Essex, so we're just going to buzz it along the A13 and into town. 1:15 now. I reckon we could be in town in like, I don't know, from Grays, probably like what, half hour, something like that? Let's go.
But big credit to the guys at the garage here. They were really quick to see that I had these bushes replaced, and as they were faulty, done free of charge. So big shout out to those guys. I was able to get straight back into town and work again on Monday. I do get hailed down on the Aldwych. Sadly, I'm not allowed to do a U-turn here, so I just have to swallow that I can't get the job, as I can't persuade them to come to my side of the road, before traversing all the way west, where I'm about at Harrods. I see the space on the rank, so I just reluctantly join that. Not long on here, and it's a simple 8-minute job to Gledhow Gardens. Let's look at how we're going to run it.
From Harrods, Tom, it's a simple job. This one, we're going to carry on west. So leave on left Brompton Road before you get yourself a forward into Furlough Place. Forward Cromwell Gardens, going past the Victoria and Albert Museum before you make your way into Cromwell Road. From there, we're going to get the left into Ashburn Place. Get yourself a right into, looks like it's Harrington Gardens, Tom, and then get yourself a left into Gledhow Gardens. Bosh, set the customer down on left.
So following this job, it's a serious bit of hunting. 30 minutes of looking through Knightsbridge, Mayfair, Shaftesbury Avenue, before working my way into Marylebone and finally getting the job 30 minutes later. But this more than makes up for it. These gents want to go to Roehampton Lane. Now, as we're quite near a big road to get us up on the Marylebone Road, I'm just going to stick it to all the big ones. Chuck it in the sat nav, double check there's nothing going wrong with the Westway. This is going to be us.
Oh, bloody hell, Tom. Whoa, that was a while. Into Wimpole Street. That forwards into Upper Wimpole Street before it becomes Devonshire Place. You're now facing the junction of Marylebone Road. Of course, we're going to get the left turn here because Roehampton Lane is down in the southwest. So, buzz it all the way along these big roads. Marylebone Road, going past Madame Two Swords on the right-hand side before you come up to the Marylebone flyover. Go straight over that, but continue forwards. You do not want to exit. Stay on the West Way. And then we're going to take the peel off Slip Road here to get a left into the West Cross route. You might be able to see the Westfield Shopping Centre on the right-hand side of the cab. That's the west side. Really good for shopping at this time of year. Comply by the Holland Park roundabout and leave by the mess, the eternal mess that is always Shepherd's Bush Green. Before getting yourself a left into Shepherd's Bush Road, remember there is a bus lane you can use down the bottom there, but once you get past the fire station and then the police station, it switches over to the right hand side for some strange reason. Maybe it's so the buses can get in that gargantuan, disgusting bus garage that is Hammersmith Broadway. We're going to go around Hammersmith Broadway, that's Butterwick Towergarth Road, before getting ourselves a left into FPR. Yes, Fulham Palace Road, going past Charing Cross Hospital. Why is it called Charing Cross? It's nowhere near Charing Cross. No one knows. We're going to carry on going down. If there's any trickiness with the road here, we do have a bus lane we can use. Comply by the roundabout, leave by Fulham High Street. That's going to set us up for Putney Bridge approach. Again, if there's any traffic here, we can use that bus lane on Putney Bridge. Not needed. Just keep to the right-hand lane. We get a right into Lower Richmond Road. Comply by that little roundabout and we're going to leave by Queen's Ride. Queen's Ride was the road that unfortunately Mark Bolan lost his life. He crashed his car and there is a memorial to the legendary T-Rex singer here. We're going to get ourselves a right into that little tiny bit of Upper Richmond Road before getting a left into Roehampton Lane, setting the customer down on left. If only it went that fast in real life. Thanks again, Tom.
Now I'm down this way and far enough out of town, it's time to stop some cheap petrol on the Lower Richmond Road. And I spot a famous black Ferrari. That happens to be Stormzy. Just about a month or so previous to this shift, he actually ran out of petrol in this Putney area. So it looks like he's learnt his lesson and he's filling up his car. And there's something I've been fueling up with for years now, and that is YFood, who are kindly sponsoring this video. This is the creamy cookie flavour, so I'm getting my festive vibes, but also wicked nutrition. There's 34 grams of protein in this one bottle alone. But with the sweet indulgence of your favourite milkshake, YFood are a ready-to-drink complete meal. There's 500 calories in one of these bottles, which is why I always keep one in my work bag, and especially when I'm doing these long filming and editing sessions. Especially in London, it can be difficult to stop, and even when you can, I don't want to be at the mercy of a petrol station sandwich. I want something with real nutrition, and that's why YFood is my go-to. They're helping you guys out with a full 10% off your next order. Just use that link in the description down below, or taxi-YouTube. If you want the festive vibes, then I'd highly recommend the creamy cookie flavour. This one is awesome. Thanks again to YFood for sponsoring the shift videos, and now we're fueled up, let's go back to the Chelsea area to try and get ourselves another job. Working my way back in, it's unlikely I'm going to get a job before the King's Road, and that's where it happens to go up. This lady on the south side here.
Yeah, lovely little hail there on the south side of the King's Road. Now we have to U-turn to go pick up the passenger. She's a weird one. She wants to put her feet on the seats. How rude. It's raining outside. That's going to make the seats very, very wet. No drama. Let's get this route underway. Going along the King's Road, we can get the left into the old Church Street. That's right by the Everyman Cinema. This allows you to get very neatly onto Cheney Walk, that little bit of the Chelsea embankment, and that of course cuts out the lights if we'd gone forward into Beaufort Street. Get yourself a left into Battersea Bridge. No width restrictions there, Tom. That's Albert Bridge. Forward into Battersea Bridge Road. Battersea Church Road, going past the Montrevato apartments on the right hand side. I think that's how it's pronounced. We get to the traffic lights going through Battersea Square before getting yourself to Vicarage Crescent. Forward all the way along, go underneath the railway bridge. That's where Lombard Road begins. Passenger wants to be dropped on the right. There's not enough space to do so. A set down on left is all it's going to have to be. She tries to get out of the live side. Make sure you warn her, Tom.
Yeah, sadly, mate, they do try and get out the live side. Haphazardly just open the door without even looking straight into the live side. Just quickly to say, look, just get out on the near side. It's much safer. Don't go out that side. Head back in. I just want to get onto the King's Road again. So back over Albert Bridge And just opposite the old town hall, I have this job, which is to go to St Columba's Church, Scotland. It's a cool little run this, because there's a lot of ways you can do it, but if you're not careful, you will wiggle about on it. So let's look at the simple option I take.
Yes, Tom, it's a real short run. Could be a bit of a brain bender, this one, but keep it simple, stupid, just like you would have done on the Knowledge. So leave on the left and go all the way down the King's Road until it stops moving. Looks like the zebra crossing for Duke of York Square is a little bit busy with traffic. You take the left into Blacklands Terrace, you can get the right into Draycott Place. Looks a little bit heavy along the end of Draycott Place for Cadogan Gardens, so if you take this little left here into Draycott Terrace, that will cut a tiny bit of that out. Continue along with Cadogan Gardens before getting yourself the left into Cadogan Square, and from there you're straight up. Just get the left into Pont Street and set that gent down on the left. Bosh.
I'm set up perfectly to be able to get into Walton Street and onto the back door of Harrods. But a little bit too much action going on there. I can't find any space of joining on the rank. Luckily, I managed to get one near Belgrave Square, right here by Mossyman's on West Halkin Street. Lady just asked for Sopwith Way. I'm quite quick to let her know that we've been under strict instruction by most of our unions not to drop in Sopwith Way. And where it's a private bit of land, they'll issue tickets if they see people coming in and dropping off.
Now, West Halkin Street, you got to spin her around because you don't want to go around Belgrave Square, West Halkin Street, and get yourself down into Cadogan Place. If we're using those squares, we can cut out the traffic lights at the junction of Pont Street and Sloane Street. We then get the left onto Sloane Street. The only slow bit of this route so far is now into Sloane Square. Leave that by Lower Sloane Street before that becomes Chelsea Bridge Road. Of course, it's popular at this time of day. It is a major river crossing. Just be sure to let the customer know that you cannot drop her at Sopwith Way. Do not drop her at Sopwith Way because the unions have told you before that if you do, you could be at risk of a PCN from the management company there. So if you drop her right into Battersea Park there's apparently a little tunnel that will take her underneath into the Battersea development. Good one, mate. You certainly are smashing all the bridges today. That's Putney, Battersea, Albert and Chelsea. Spelt backwards, that's Cab P. Good work.
Heading back to the Chelsea area, Sloane Square rank looks relatively empty, so I make the most of joining there. And it's just 4 minutes before I get this meaty job going to Paddington via Stanley Gardens.
Just leave on the right, Sloane Square, forward into the King's Road, and we get ourselves a right into Cadogan Gardens, left into Draycott Place before getting ourselves a right into Sloane Avenue. That goes past that really expensive petrol station that no one has ever got petrol from, ever. Don't ever go there. Look at the prices. But drama strikes at the top of Sloane Avenue. Yes, Pelham Street is still shut. How will we get round it? Well, we're going to get right into Brompton Road. But rather than going all the way up and getting the left at the traffic lights into Furlough Place, we're going to come in via Alexander Place. That's a cheeky way of getting ourselves into Furlough Square, going around Furlough Square and then rejoining Furlough Place by the Ismaili Embassy. Now, get a right into Exhibition Road. Run that all the way up. That takes you, of course, past the Science Museum and the side entrance for the Natural History Museum. Before getting a left into Prince Consort Road. Who was the Prince Consort? Well, of course, it was Prince Albert. Get ourselves a right into Kensington Gore, going past that same hall that bears his name. Get the left into Kensington Gore, forward Kensington Road. Before getting the right into Kensington Church Street. We probably do touch a bit of Kensington High Street. I just missed that off. Left into Notting Hill Gate before getting a right into Pembridge Road. Comply by the roundabout. Leave by Kensington Park Road. Left into Stanley Gardens. Drop them on the left so they can get their cases. Back to you, mate.
So my punters have just headed in to pick up their luggage, and I think they're coming back quite quickly anyway. So now I've got to decide how to get to Paddington. I reckon I'm just going to go over Bishopsbridge Road because just Bishopsbridge Road, drop them in, nice. Because if you drop some people on Pride Street, they're kind of like, where's the station or whatever. And also it's a nice straight run for do that. If you want to do Pride Street, it's a lot of up, down, whatnot, wiggling. So yeah, they're just about to come back out. Just carry on.
Lovely, stellar work there, mate. So spin it back round, get yourself a right into Kensington Park Road before getting yourself a left into Pembridge Villas. Go over those little mini roundabouts and you can peel left onto Pembridge Road there, which is then the start or joining point of Westbourne Grove. Westbourne Grove, going past all those shops there. Hopefully it's a clear run. Does look like it is, before getting yourself a forward into Bishop's Bridge Road. You then get yourself up to the entrance ramp for Paddington Station, getting the right in there. That rank looks juicy. There's not many cabs there. Drop the punters off on the right-hand side there, Tom, and looks like you know where your next job's going to be coming from.
Not a short rank, but not a long one either, and it does look to be trickling along. Just 10 minutes here sees me to the point and getting a fairly local job round the corner. These people just wish to go to McGregor Road. I've never heard of it. Sometimes passengers do this, they just give you a random street, which, to be honest, even on the knowledge, we're very rarely to learn little small random streets in places. But if they add something else to it, McGregor Road off St Luke's Road, or All Saints Road, or Westbourne Park Road, then it becomes a bit easier.
McGregor Road. Bosh, did you know that, Tom? That's notorious. I certainly didn't. Now, let's leave this by right into Bishop's Bridge Road. Even though directionally it is northwest from Paddington Station, it probably flows a little bit quicker if you use the roundabouts rather than getting stuck in the traffic lights of Bishop's Bridge Road. Comply by the Harrow Road roundabout and leave by Harrow Road. You go underneath the Westway for this little bit here before getting a left into Lord Hill's Bridge. That's just going past Royal Oak Station there. Get yourself a right into the Westbourne Park Villas. Be careful on the speed bumps there. That does seriously slow you down before getting a right into Westbourne Park Road. Comply by the roundabouts, go past Domino's Pizza. You got to get yourself a right into St Luke's Road. McGregor Road is up the end there. What the hell is a play street and why does it finish at sunset? I'll go back to you, mate.
I'm a professional driver. This is the first time I've ever seen this exact sign. Play Street, 8 a.m. to sunset except for access. How ridiculous is that? So I absolutely myself once I turned into that, because obviously the customer's got to get in there. But to take all that information in as soon as you've made a left turn. Can someone define sunset to me? Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, how can a sign have sunset written on it? Are we talking about sunset whenever you look at your phone and it says, oh, sunset's due to set at this time today? Or are we talking about sunset as in we can no longer see the sun? Has it set, like, over the horizon somewhere? That's just absurd. I had to work that out. I was like, AM to sunset. I'm like, what time are we? Oh, yeah, it's dark. Fine. But to do all of that whilst you're making a left turn, you've got conversation with the passenger at the back and they're going, oh, do you take American Express? And it's like, yes, I do. And it's a silly street to have a restriction on because of how short it is. Like, so what if you're not allowed that one? Then you just use the one before it or after it. Like, it's very over-engineered, but hey, that's London. We're picking up a bit better now. We got through Paddington quick enough. We're just gone 6:30. Inevitably going to be a slack period about 8 o'clock, so I'll use that as an opportune moment to get dinner. Fingers crossed it will go well.
18 minutes goes by until I get my next job here on Park Lane. I think we can speed run the explanation for this one.
Tom, looks like you got yourself the biggest bread and butter job of the London taxi trade. I think the audience all know it. Sing it with me. Leave on left Park Lane into Hyde Park Corner and leave by Duke of Wellington Place. Who was Duke of Wellington? He was the greatest military leader this country has ever seen, overthrowing Napoleon during the Napoleonic Wars of the 19th century. Get ourselves a left into Knightsbridge, bear left from the Brompton Road, set it down on left. Back to you, mate.
And dropping off, there's definitely no chance of being able to sneak onto the back of the rank here, but the side door is empty. Now, out of all the ranks at Harrods, you've got the front door, the back door, the side door is probably one of the slowest. But if there's no one on here and Harrods is still open, probably best to jump on it. It doesn't take me long at all. These people just wish to go to the Arts Club.
Yeah, Tom, leaving the side door, you do have to do a lot of work in the Hands area. Who was Hands? Not Super Hands. No, it was another Super Hands. That was Sir Hans Sloane, the man behind the British Museum. He was also a physician to the king at the time, I believe. So you're going to leave on left Hands Road before getting yourself into Hands Place. You could use Herbert Crescent to get yourself out onto Hands Crescent, but that can be a little bit tricky getting the right down into Sloane Street. So you might as well use Hands Street. Yes, another Hands named road. This is absolutely wild. How anyone knows the difference around here, I do not know. Get a left into Sloane Street. Get it? Hands Sloane. Right into Cadogan Place, going past the Jumeirah Tower Hotel, before getting forward into West Halkin Street. That's where you picked up that lady earlier, going to Sopwith Way, round Belgrave Square, lead by Grosvenor Crescent, and then you get yourself a left into Hyde Park Corner. Once you get yourself into Piccadilly, mate, it's pretty simple from here. Piccadilly, left over street, set down on left for the Arts Club, mic drop.
So I drop off and I have a hunt around the Mayfair area, but it's just not doing it for me today. It's just not working. So I think, right, let's go back to Harrods. And luckily, just managed to get on the rank 23 minutes after having my initial search. Takes me 13 minutes to get through it. This is pretty slow, but all worth the wait because I get a nice big one to King's Cross. Let's see how we're going to run this.
King's Cross, mate. Wow, this is a big one. How will you run it? Well, you only really have two options. Depending on the time of day, you can run it straight through the middle, or I would highly recommend picking the big roads. Now, sadly, as you spin on Brompton Road and get yourself in the Knightsbridge, they've taken it down to one lane. What is going on here? It's down to one lane right by the Mandarin. Who would do this at this important time of year? You're going to peel off left onto the slip road to get yourself onto Hyde Park Corner before getting a left into Park Lane. Don't go all the way up there though, because you've got to get yourself a right into Brook Gate. That leads you forward into Upper Brook Street. Get a left into Park Street and run that bad boy all the way up. Yes, sing it with me. Park Street, forward Portman Street, forward Portman Square, forward Gloucester Place. Keep it in that left-hand lane until you can get into the right-hand lane. Don't be like those people that use the turn right arrows and they're not turning right, they're carrying on straight on just to jib in and go forward if they want to get up to Hampstead and somewhere like that. You're better than that. So when appropriate to do so, get yourself into the right hand lane and get a right onto the Marylebone Road. And from Marylebone Road, it is the straight line all the way to the finish. We can go forward along Marylebone Road and just after the edge of Regent's Park, I believe is where the Euston Road starts. Also happens to be the borough line between Westminster and Camden. Probably best put that on the map if you can, mate. Forward Euston Road, forward into the Euston Underpass. But before you do that, before you go in the Euston Underpass, make sure you do that weird little craning your neck to look through the underpass to make sure traffic is not queuing out the other side. If it is, go over the top. But I think you're going to be pretty clear on this one. Go past Euston Station. Now you're back onto the Euston Road. Go past the Euston Fire Station before getting a left in the Pancras Road so you can drop your passengers on the right-hand side at the designated drop-off point. Well done, mate. That was a good run.
Not wanting to join King's Cross, I head back in via Bloomsbury, but annoyingly there's a really difficult four-way light sequence that's been put up around Russell Square, and I find myself nearly in it. So I think, you know what, I'm going to cut my losses. This is going to be a good time to go for dinner. I reckon tortilla.
Well, that was a little touch painful getting through Harrods. We got to about nearly a tenner just to get off of Harrods and get through Scotch Corner, right by the Mandarin. Not cool. I'm going to chow down on some dinner. Tortilla, the tortilla legend. But let me know, what can you get late night, quick, easy to grab food that's somewhat or can be made somewhat healthier? Because obviously a nice bowl from tortilla. 8:45 now, so I'm eating a little bit later than I hoped. So potentially a couple of hours more. We could probably get nearly 3, I think. So I'm going to tuck in and I'll see you in a bit.
Now, straight after my dinner, I actually get stuck in that four-way traffic lights at Russell Square. Need to make a mental note of that because if I head to King's Cross or St Pancras from the theatres later on, this could make all the difference. And the theme of today seems to be a lot of downtime between jobs. I look to join the RAC, but that's full. But as I go past, I see something that's a little bit rarer in London now. The classic taxi light. This one on the Army and Navy Club. Some establishments that don't have like dedicated concierges that stand outside the front of them will just have a taxi light on outside. It's also really good for big hotels if they need a lot of taxis at once. Save the concierge going back and forth, they'll just leave the taxi light permanently on. So I pull up thinking I might get a bit of luck here. No one's coming out. I wonder if they've turned it on earlier, used it and have just forgotten to turn it off. But some 23 minutes after leaving Tortilla, I eventually get the next job. To the Victory Services Club. At this time of day, it's an absolute doddle.
Looks like you got yourself a great run to the Victory Services Club there, Tom. That's VSC, not to be confused with VCS, which of course is Victoria Coach Station. How will you leave it? Leave on right Albemarle Street, left into Stafford Street, get yourself a right into Dover Street. Get a left down in that little tiny hill that is Hay Hill, right into Berkeley Street, comply by Berkeley Square. Tom, you're going to leave that by Is it Davy Street? Is it Mount Street? Don't know. It's that little tiny roundabout. But you get yourself a left into Mount Street before bear right into Carlos Place, going past the Connaught Hotel on the left-hand side there. Left into Grosvenor Square, and that leads you forward into Upper Grosvenor Street. Forward out into Grosvenor Gate, that gets you your right onto Park Lane. Use as much of that bus lane as possible, Tom. Show the passenger the value that they are getting on this super quick ride up to the Victory Services Club. Left into Marble Arch, and I guess you probably comply around the top there before getting a left into Edgware Road. Don't go too far up it though. Left into Seymour Street, set that gent down on the left. Bosh.
Now I think it's safely time to work more of the West End. This is the kind of time when people start coming out of the theatres, but nothing along Shaftesbury Avenue, and it seems a lot quieter even for a Monday. Will this even work for me? I'm lucky as I go along Lichfield Street, I actually catch the burst of the Mousetrap. These people wish to go to King's Cross.
It's a pretty good West End job, but you got to get yourself out of Covent Garden. Of course, there's only two ways of doing it. You're going to be using Charing Cross Road. So get yourself a right into Upper St Martin's Lane before getting yourself a right into Cranbourne Street, going past that fine steakhouse that no one ever needs to go to, Aberdeen Ager Steakhouse. Get a right into Charing Cross Road and just begrudgingly sit through the traffic here. It takes almost 4 minutes to get you back to the start where you pick the punters up from. At Cambridge Circus, you're going to be getting a right into Shaftesbury Avenue, but be very, very careful here, Tom. You do not want to go anywhere near Russell Square. You saw that earlier where you went for dinner. So don't let the passengers get trapped in that. Use that knowledge to inform them. You're going to be going up Bloomsbury Street before that becomes Gower Street. And we can use a right to get to Keppel Street. That takes you past the School of London Hygiene School of Tropical Medicine. What a mouthful that is. Before getting a left into Mallet Street. From there you can get right into Bing Place, and that forwards you into Torrington Place. You never use Torrington Place any other time. It's absolute crap. No one uses Torrington Place, in the very, very rare circumstances at least. The squares you'll be going past are Gordon Square, and then of course Tavistock Square. Tavistock Square is where the Tavistock Hotel is, and there's that really weird little two-cab rank which no cab driver has ever used. Why? Because it's right in the middle of the cycle lane. It is just asking for trouble for cyclists to come past and damage your cab. Now this is the final part of the run to get you out into King's Cross. You've got to do the Bloomsbury Shuffle. That involves getting a left into Judge Street before getting another left into Lee Street, going past the North Sea Fish Restaurant. Very good fish and chips. Not been there for some time. Can recommend if you're into that kind of cuisine. Get yourself a right into Cartwright Gardens, forward into Mabledon Place, going past Mabel's Tavern, right onto the Euston Road, and there's another left back into Pancras Road. All sorted. Set them down in the drop-off there, Tom.
I head back in from King's Cross and I instantly forget about the four-way traffic lights. I'm sometimes really good when I've got passengers on to think about it, but when you're hunting, you just kind of fall into an automatic routine. Knowing I might get stuck here, I think, you know what? Seems a bit quiet in town. Let's just kill this off.
Yeah, Tom, I'd rate that as an okay shift. The traffic was tolerable, as is kind of expected on a Monday, but you finished up on just 12 jobs. Let's see how the rest of the week goes. You're back again on Wednesday.
If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because this video is the first of a whole series of a whole week of working in town. So stay tuned, hit the subscribe button and keep an eye out for those videos. I'll see you on the next one.